Excellent. Well, good afternoon everybody, and thank you for joining us on what here is a very dreary, dull, horrible Friday afternoon. So I hope the weather's nice and bright and sparkling where you are. So as it's so miserable, we're going to introduce a little bit of brightness into your day. We're going to do a lovely spring arrangement. So spring sort of signalling that actually there is light at the end of the tunnel from winter. The nice bright colours with beautiful fragrances. So I'm going to do a continental style spring arrangement. I'm going to use, in the spring flowers, these beautiful double tulips called Python. We have some Narcissi Soleador, some Narcissi Winston Churchill, some Hyacinths Blue Delft, some daffodils and some pussy willow. The foliage that I'm going to use is cordyline red edge, eucalyptus cinerea. I have a little bit of Ming fern, some cocculus and some hard ruscus. So that's all the ingredients. What I've done is I have literally halved a piece of oasis, a wet brick, cut it down the centre and put it end to end in my double spray tray and just taped it in so it's nice and secure. I'm going to work on a turntable today so that I can work and do a section, turn it round so you can actually see what I'm doing. Please do ask any questions that you want to. I will do our best to answer them for you. Don't forget to hit that like button and share us with your friends. So let us also know what the weather's like with you and what you're planning for the weekend.
We have got a few people that have commented. So we've got Charlie who says watching from rainy Sussex. We've got Dawn who same here in Hertfordshire, and we've got Elspeth who is same here in Scotland. So I think it's
pretty much
the same
countrywide. Oh, okay. I was hoping someone was going to ring or someone's going to message in and say it's really bright and sunny here and glorious. Okay, we'll have to all commiserate with each other this afternoon then. Okay, so we'll go to the spring for the bit of inspiration this afternoon. So I'm going to start now. A continental style arrangement is very much so it's vertical and it's horizontal, so very much linear. So I'm going to do groupings of all the different spring flowers in sections. So hopefully it'll be quite easy to follow. I've got some 71 by 260 wires that I'm going to wire the tulips with. Because tulips are unique in the respect that they bend to the light. They will actually grow overnight. So if you put a vase of tulips on your side, in the morning you'll find they're that much taller and they will bend, especially if you put them in a vertical, horizontal arrangement. They will actually kink up and go upwards. So they do need wiring just to stop that from happening. I've also got some plant sticks here, just your common garden little support plant sticks, which sometimes are quite useful just to internally support hollow stem flowers such as daffodils and the hyacinths, if you find them problematic in going into the oasis. Okay, so I'm going to start either end using the cordyline red edge. Just putting a couple of leaves in. Now they're a little bit long, some of these, so I'm just going to trim them up. What you'll notice I've done is I've kept that main vein down the centre of the leaf. So by cutting those bottom ends of the leaf, it's not actually going to be detrimental to the longevity of the leaf, and it's actually not going to kill it off. It's just literally making it shorter. Okay, so I'll just show you how I did that again. So bearing in mind you've got your central spine there, just cut to the central spine and then pull the excess part of the leaf away to the central spine, the excess leaf away. So you've still got that nice stem to use, and just cut it at an angle like you would normally and then pop that in. So we've got a group of 3 leaves at that end.
Do you do that with all types of foliage, in the sense that you're cutting to the vein and then...
Yeah, because the main source of water and nutrients goes up through the main central vein. So as long as you don't destroy that, you'll be fine.
Makes sense. So you've got Davina who says it's dry and sunny in Newport, so maybe we should go there.
Yeah.
She did say there's black clouds on their way, so maybe not.
Sadly, by the sound of it, I don't think we'll get there in time. Well, enjoy it while you can, Davina, because it looks like it might not be lasting. I'm glad to see someone's got some sunshine somewhere.
Maybe make the most of it.
I think we've been so spoilt, that's the trouble with the lovely weather that we've had. Now we're getting these really sharp, nasty frosts. It's come with a bit of a culture shock to us all. Okay, so just finishing the last couple of leaves. Again, cutting them at an angle.
So if you didn't have the cordyline, is there any other foliages that you'd use to create this?
The length, absolutely. You could use aspidistra. To be honest, any sort of sculptural leaf would work. Aspidistra work quite nicely as well because they're long and narrow. The fatsia or aurelia would work okay. They're like a finger shape. You could just put a single one at the end there and that would work. It's just a grouping kind of scenario really. So what I've also done with some of the cordyline leaves is I've actually bent them back on themselves and taped them, so made almost like little loops, and they work quite nicely to give a little bit of added interest. Just literally bent it back and taped it with some pot tape. And I'm just going to do a couple of little groups of those. Excuse me, leaning over. I'll just pop those in, and then I'll turn it round so you can see how far we've got. Right. Everybody needs a little bit of spring colouring in their lives at the moment, I think.
Absolutely. And to be fair, we've got a wide range of flowers that will add sunshine to your homes. Hyacinths, daffodils, tulips. Pretty good, to be fair.
I think I've covered most of the spring there.
Yeah, you have.
There we go. So we've just done a group of the two folded leaves there and a group there, and say the nice long cordylines at the end. So that's going to be the length of the arrangement. So it would naturally lend itself to going against a wall because it's going to be a front facing one, and it would naturally lend itself perhaps to a mantelpiece or something like that. You don't have to stick with spring flowers either. Any variety of flowers would work. So I'm going to start with my pussy willow, which I've buried underneath all the other flowers here. Okay, so this is pussy willow, or salix willow cats.
What is the natural season of pussy willow?
It's kind of, naturally, it's a kind of a spring item, really, but we pretty much get it all year round now because they do dye it as well. We've had some really interesting colours recently. Had a lovely pale subtle pink one that we had in for Valentine's Day, and for Christmas we also get the red. So yeah, it works, and it can be dried, although it does tend to go quite black when it's dried. The actual main stem goes very black. So just doing a couple of groups here with the pussy willow, keeping it very vertical, and then I'll just turn that round again in a moment so you can see what I'm doing. And then I'm just going to emphasize the ends where the cordyline is by putting a couple of pieces either end. Oops.
So using as much of that bunch as possible.
Absolutely. Yep, I'm famed for saying you pay for the whole stem, so use it all if you can.
Absolutely.
So all these little pieces here that we've got left over, don't throw those away, because I'll show you what we can do with those later. You can actually stagger them in smaller pieces, whoops, like so. So you're still getting the same idea with, that you've achieved with the longer stems, but only making it that little bit shorter. put those to one side for later, and then I'll just spin this round so you can see where we've got to so far. So literally just groups of 3 and then groups of 2. All right.
Perfect. Got lots of ladies joining us. I know we've got one gentleman, Chris, who's from the Philippines. He always joins us, but we've also got lots of lovely ladies. If you have any questions, I know you're telling me all about your weather where you are. Majority are saying it's cold, wet and windy. But ask questions about the arrangement. That's what we're here for.
Yeah, absolutely. Shouldn't have started them off on the weather. It's a British thing. Although Philippines sounds all right.
Yeah, to be fair.
So I'm adding this particular variety of narcissi is Winston Churchill, but you may be thinking that actually it looks like cheerfulness, because cheerfulness is a very similar variety and you'd be quite hard pressed to tell the difference between the two, to be honest. I'm just adding the Winston Churchill again in a line. Now, what you will see is, oops, okay, so you saw what happened there, that bent slightly. So I was being a bit overzealous in putting it in. So just internally supporting it with that sharp stick, with the plant stick, cut the stick off, quite sharp. And then you can slide it into the oasis so much easier. Just literally just using 10 stems of these, and as you're usually taught to cut stems at an angle to put into oasis, this is the one time when you don't do that. I'm just going to lay this down for a moment so I can explain to you what I mean. Usually you're told to cut your stems at an angle when you put them into oasis. If you do that with a hollow stem flower, cut at an angle, that part of the stem is incredibly delicate and weak, so it actually won't go into the oasis very well. If you cut it straight across, you've got a much bigger surface area there that's being forced into the oasis. So as you can see, it's much more sturdy and will go into the oasis that much more easily. Sorry, that wasn't very good grammar. Much easier. Excuse me. So yeah, so that's basically why you cut at an angle as opposed to cutting, you cut straight across as opposed to cutting at an angle. Just add the last couple of pieces of Winnie in, and I'll pop him back onto. So what I'm trying to achieve is a natural growing pattern almost. You very rarely see flowers growing at that kind of angle. They all tend to grow upright. So that's what I'm trying to replicate here. And that one's a bit soft, so again, a trusty little stick. Oops. Okay, so that's a small piece, so I'm just going to cut the stick in half, so that's actually a bit wide for this one. Easy to do, as you can see, and then just pop that up the stem, and nice and sturdy. So there we have our little group of Winston Churchill. You can see how that works. Got a nice little linear arrangement there. Just going to clear my stems away. And next I'm going to replicate that with my Soliadors. Our viewers very quiet today. Don't seem to be very
listening intently. Lita just has said that it would look great in a church wedding in spring.
Very much so, yeah. Be lovely. At least they can hear us this week.
I apologise about last week. We did get some information on there though, so that's the best thing really.
I think it was a two-pronged issue last week. My voice wasn't very good,
Yeah, and then
the sound didn't work, so we were battling against it a bit last week. So these lovely little solidors, I'm just repeating the same kind of scenario as I did for the Winston Churchill. Just keeping them very much in the line form.
So I was just asked, what are the sticks that you're using for the stems?
They are just a plant support stick that you would buy from, well, any garden centre really. I've got natural coloured ones here as opposed to the green ones, but you can normally buy them to support your orchids and what have you, and buy the little nippy things to hold your orchids onto them. Technical term, obviously, nippy thing.
We don't sell them on our website, but if you go to any garden centre or anywhere plant-based, then you should be able to find them.
To be fair, a nice heavy wire, even a 1.2 wire would work. Yeah, that would be my recommendation. Anything is, obviously, sadly, the wires aren't biodegradable. So whereas your plant sticks can be chucked out in the compost with the rest of the flowers. Having said that, the plastic base can't, but normally you'd save those for another arrangement. Well, I would, but then I'm a bit like that.
Use everything.
Yeah. Upcycle, I think, is what I was called yesterday or the day before. So there we have the second row or the second line of spring flowers, our little daffies.
Lovely.
Okay, swing it back again. Now the dominant colour that I have here, I think, is probably going to be the blue, which is ironic really, because blue is one of the least luminous colours that you can get. Having said that, because it's hyacinths, quite dominant looking, that's what I'm going to use in the centre.
So we're using our flower of the month, hyacinths.
Hyacinths. Yep. We are. And flower of the month next month is obviously the rose. I say obvious,
Obviously.
but obviously. Being Valentine's and all that.
Jennifer says, it's good to see you all well again.
Oh, thank you, Jennifer. Yes, it's been a long haul actually. Been some really pernicious bugs about this year.
Absolutely.
So yeah, it's nice to get back into the routine, to be fair. Now I'm just support wiring that hyacinth because I actually want the hyacinth to be quite tall in this part of the arrangement. Now what happens is when the hyacinths develop a little bit further, they become a little bit top heavy. So by having that little bit of extra support in the stem, it's going to keep it nice and upright. We hope. And just pushing that into the oasis. Sorry, excuse me. Still got the last remnants of a bit of a cough there, I'm afraid. Oops.
What variety is this hyacinth?
It's Blue Delft.
One of the most popular ones, isn't it?
It is, actually, yeah. It's I'd say it's one of the most popular ones. It's one of the most, I guess it's in a higher production than a lot of the others. So it tends to be, when the blue hyacinths are offered for sale, it tends to be the main variety. So I wouldn't say that people buy it because they absolutely love that particular one. I think it's more that it happens to be the more readily available one, really. But it is a lovely hyacinth. And when hyacinths are delivered to you, they are packed.
So maybe just put it on the side because you're hidden by all the beautiful flowers.
That's not a bad thing.
That's better. We like to see you, Debbie.
I think you prefer to see the flowers. So when you buy hyacinths as a cut flower, they are harvested with part of the bulb still left on them. Now, there's a good reason for that. If I just peel this away, you can see what I mean. So there's still quite a bit of that bulb at the bottom there. I don't know if you can see. Now, the reason for that is hyacinths do develop better if they have the bulb left on them. So when you receive them and you condition them, cut a small amount off the stem. If you can still leave a little bit of the bulb on, do, and then put them into water before you start to work with them. It's only when you start to put the arrangement together that you need to actually cut that bit off. Okay.
With the hyacinths, you get quite a lot of foliage. Is there anything that you could do to work that into an arrangement?
Yeah, you can. Let me show you. Okay.
Just because they are quite fleshy, aren't they? Quite
they are.
foliagey.
What you can do, I'm just going to strip the leaves off this one. And I always think it's so sad because you get the little side ones as well. Don't throw those away because they will develop to a certain extent. They won't ever develop to the size of the big ones, but some of the little bottom blooms will actually open. So don't throw those little side pieces away. Okay, so we have a little selection of leaves here. Just move that to the side for a moment.
I do like to surprise you, don't I?
Yeah, I haven't forgotten the Father Christmas yet.
Oh, yeah.
That will go down in history, that will.
Memories.
For you, maybe.
Everyone loved it.
Apart from those who lost the will to watch.
Watch our Father Christmas.
Okay, so with the leaves, what you can do is you can do 2 little bunny ears, and then you can fold leaves back on themselves. Whoops. And I'm going to do another one as well. So make almost ribbon loops, and then do what we call a double leg mount with the wire. Whoops. You can hear the poor leaves protesting. And just trim so that they're the same level, and then you can put that into your arrangement. So bear in mind that all of the stem there is still going to be drinking water, so potentially should live quite happily in water or oasis. I'm just going to pop that into the arrangement just so you can see how it can be used. I just pop that in this way. Oh, I'm going to need another bit of wire on that. Not quite strong enough. We'll try that again. So I've actually used 4 wires on this one. Oh, sorry, just firing pieces of wire at Laura. And there you go. So that's how you can use the leaves. You can just do individual ones as well if you wanted to. So literally just looping the leaf, squashing it at the base and wiring that. Again, just a single leg or double leg mount. Cut the stems level, she says. And then you can pop that in as well. I'm just going to put that in with the hyacinths as it's a hyacinth leaf. Whoops, I just knocked a bloom off there. So in effect, they actually almost look like loops of ribbon. But yeah, that's what you can do with that.
Thank you.
But also, if I'm doing a hand tied with hyacinths, that squeaky sound always makes me think like they're protesting. Okay, so if I'm doing a hand tied with the hyacinths, what I tend to do is use the hyacinth leaves rather, as part of the arrangement. It helps to keep the hyacinths going in the spiral direction that you want them to. I'll show you what I mean by that. Just turn this to one side again. Okay, now you can see it's quite prevalent there. You can see what I mean about part of the bulb still being left on the stem. So if you take a little group of the leaves, and use those as your starting point of your hand tide, and then add your hyacinths in, you can see already how much more natural it looks with the leaves around. And it does actually help you to define the hyacinths a little bit and keep them separated. Do you see what I mean there?
Absolutely.
But you can still maintaining that spiral shape.
Yeah.
So yeah, you don't have to throw the leaves away, even though I have done that today on some of them. But but yeah, so they are very utilisable. Back to the arrangement.
Yeah. For this beauty.
Oops. I'm going to have to move this forward a bit because there's not room for the arrangement swinging around and me between the gap at the back here. Okay, so a couple more hyacinths going in. Oops, pushed that one in a bit too hard, a bit too ferocious on that one. So again, just popping the little stick in just to give that extra support. Now I have known people to make holes in Oasis first and then push the hyacinths or the daffodils in. The only problem with that is if the hole is too large for the actual stem, potentially you're not actually going to get the stem drinking properly. So just be a little bit aware of that. Just going to have to cut this stick down as well. And you literally just push the stick up the stem of the hyacinth and away you go. And my last hyacinth, pop that in there. So just spin that round. So you can see we've got our line of solidors, our line of hyacinths and our line of Winston Churchill. I'm now going to do my tulips, if I can get round them. Oops, the daisy.
You've got very quiet watchers. So yeah, I'll
Not gone to sleep, have
they?
they?
They're watching very intently. Not about 30 watchers, so they're all being very quiet at the moment. As I say, if you have any questions, not just about this arrangement, about January varieties or even into February, yeah, ask away. We'd like to know that you're all there still.
And I
We've
haven't
just got Jane, she says hello.
I haven't sent them to sleep
We
yet
haven't.
then.
Hopefully not, hopefully not.
Okay, so I'm going to swing this around and just show you how to wire some tulips. So you've got the neck I'm holding on to. This is about 1 centimetre down the neck. I've pushed it into the stem and then literally just bind the wire around the rest of the tulip. And then that's been nicely supported. And by folding that leaf back up again, you can't see a huge amount of the wire. And that's all you have to do. Now, tulips have got a really lovely, strong stem to them, so you shouldn't need to add any extra support. Gosh, that oasis is hard. Any extra support to them to go into the oasis.
We've got Lisa who goes to Otley College, and she says we're doing a vegetative spring arrangement, and what would you recommend to use in that arrangement?
Vegetative, did you say?
Vegetative, yeah.
Okay. So I'm guessing by vegetative they mean sort of vegetables, would you say?
Is that right, Lisa? Sarah says also that we're concentrating very hard, so...
Oh, excellent.
They're awake.
Good. They'll be sending snoring emojis coming through the wavelength.
Okay, so it's what is known as planted techniques. It's a college plant unit question.
Planted techniques, okay.
What is known as... I don't know if that's linked, sorry. What is known as planted techniques? It's a college plant question.
I'm guessing planted techniques. I mean, years ago we used to produce something called a pot fleur, which was a planted arrangement. So palms, ferns, a flowering plant, that kind of thing, a trailing ivy, actually planted into compost, and then you'd submerge a little container or put a container into the compost with a piece of oasis in, and actually make a flower arrangement within that, so you had the pots and the flowers, hence pot fleur. So that's one planted technique, I would assume. Otherwise I'm guessing things like if you're focusing on spring, little bulbs of tate-a-tates, muscari, the miniature dwarf tulips, things like that, I would say would work in a planted arrangement. I'm not quite sure if I've answered that correctly, really. I'm not sure quite what...
Haven't been to college for a while.
No. Vegetative. I can't even say it. Vegetative arrangement.
Well, best of luck with that, Lisa.
Yeah, come back to us, Lisa. Let us know what it is actually that you're making.
Yeah.
Vegetative. Because I mean, we have done here. We've done arrangements where we've actually used vegetables in with the flowers, haven't we?
So lots of tributes and things like that.
Yeah, and
Always request.
Also, I've done arrangements where I've used either a cabbage or a pineapple as a container to make an arrangement in. So yeah, there are lots of... Oops, sorry about that, guys. I think I need to give my turntable some oil. So yeah, not entirely sure on that one, I have to be honest. Perhaps I need to go back to college.
How many are you saying? Oh no, I don't know if you should say that live, Debs.
What's
that?
You
were saying it yesterday, how many years?
Okay, yeah, so this Easter I'll have been in the industry for 40 years. Now what you're all supposed to put on this posting is, oh, you don't look old enough.
Absolutely.
I'm joking. I do look old enough, I know. So yeah, things have changed a huge amount in 40 years, I have to say. When I first trained, when we did our funeral tributes, they were mossed funeral tributes. And my tutor, bless her, who was a very formidable lady, very inspiring but very formidable, would actually pick our funeral tributes up after we'd completed them, moss them, and throw them across the floor just to check nothing would come out. And if you got loose flowers and they actually came out of the arrangement, should they make you do them again? So yeah, thank your lucky stars, all you florists out there that have now got oasis to work with. It's so much easier. Anyway, that's quite sad because I'm showing my age now. Ironically, a lot of the old techniques are coming back into fashion, really. Like the shower bouquets, wired shower bouquets are now becoming really fashionable again. So, yeah, there's a place for everything, isn't there? So just wiring up some more of these beautiful tulips. Now this, if you didn't hear me earlier, this particular variety of tulip is called python. So what you can see I've done is I've gone horizontal with 3 stems there, and I've gone vertical with some there. I'm just going to finish with some daffodils, and then lastly, but by no means least, I'm going to fill in with some of the foliage.
Oh, I just love those tulips.
Aren't they gorgeous?
They're so pretty, aren't they?
They are. So that one's python. It's almost impossible to keep up with the varieties of tulips. They are so varied and so many now, aren't there?
Oh, absolutely.
It's, I have to say though, I still think the doubles and the parrots are my favourites.
No, yeah. They're frilly ones as well, I really like.
Oh yeah, I've seen those. There's a...
That's frilly edges, yeah.
I know the ones you mean. I'm trying to think of the variety it's white with a red frilly edge, or cerise frilly edge.
They've got like fantastic names as well, haven't they?
They have.
They actually are quite a good. We were talking about roses earlier in February. That's our flower of the month for February.
Yep.
And they've got lots of meanings related to Valentine's, but tulips actually do as well, don't they? Because red tulips are like romantic.
Yeah.
It's like passionate love or something it means.
And to be fair, some people don't actually particularly like roses.
No.
So by having a hand tied of tulips, you've got a very similar shape, so you can achieve the same style of arrangement.
Absolutely. And they might not be as expensive because they're seasonal.
Absolutely.
As the rose.
Absolutely. Yeah, unfortunately with roses, they are kind of, well, it's a supply and demand thing really, isn't it? Because everybody wants tulips. Well, wants tulips. There you go. I'm talking about tulips now. Because everybody wants roses at Valentine's Day, the demand for them goes up. So when you're buying at auction, unfortunately, you're subject to auction conditions, and up goes the price. It's a sad fact of life, unfortunately. So I'm just popping these daffodils in on the outside edges. Whoops, I'm trying to shoot Laura again. This is a stick this time. We do get on really, don't we, Laura?
We do, yeah. I sit behind her at work, like normally. There's normally no problems. She's alive, she just attacks me.
It's payback for the Father Christmas episode.
It was a long time ago.
It might be for you. So just adding a couple more daffodils into this arrangement.
With
And then I'll
daffodils and narcissus, what's the difference?
Okay, so daffodils are usually a single bloom, and narcissi normally have more than one. So like for example with your Winston, oh I'm so sorry. Sorry guys, I've just killed everybody's hearing now. With your Winston Churchill you've got like multi-headed, so you've got 3 heads there. And with your solidors, again, you're multi-headed. So that's a general rule of thumb. It doesn't always apply because things like pheasant eye, which are a single bloom, they're still termed as a narcissi. So yeah, as with everything in life, rules are made to be broken.
Absolutely.
So that's all of our flowers in situ. Now I'm literally just going to go and fill in with some foliage. And hopefully spin this round without killing everybody's ears. Yay.
Mm-hmm.
Now, just as I spoke to you earlier about using every part of the stem that you buy, I'm just going to pop on the end here some little pieces of pussy willow, grouping them. I haven't actually got sufficient length to do it on this occasion, but you can always make... Turn it round. You can always make shapes with the pussy willow, so you could bend the stems like so and then pop them into the arrangement, so that works quite nicely. That's another way of using them, bit of a design idea.
So for a question, we've got Caroline who's asked, how long roughly would you foresee this arrangement to last? Depending on environment, obviously.
Yeah, it does depend on environment. I
So
would
put it in a church maybe?
in a church, I'd probably expect 7 to 10 days. In a domestic environment, not so much, probably 5 to 7 I would have thought.
Okay.
Yeah.
Obviously it depends, especially at this time of year we've all got our heating on, so, well I have at least because it's so cold.
Dead right.
So yes, it does depend on the temperature.
Yeah, it does. And also it depends how fully developed the flowers are when you arrange with them as well. I mean, if you put buds into an arrangement, they're obviously going to last that little bit longer than fully open blooms would. So again, that will have an impact.
I feel like the arrangement's talking to us.
I'm sorry.
I literally can't see you.
There may be method in my madness. I'm going to disappear for just a second and get my eucalyptus that died on me. Here we go. And quick time for a quick cough. Okay, so this is beautiful Ming fern here that I'm using. Really fluffy, and it's so you can utilize it for so many different types of arrangement. The only thing I would say to you though is it does have a nasty barb on the stems, really sharp prickle, so always handle it with a bit of care. Just popping those into. My colleague Shana's just come into the room.
Hiya!
And she's saying hi to you all. So
Lunch.
yeah, hunger calls.
It's beautiful, by the way.
Thank you, lovely. She's made a rapid exit. You know, I hope you viewers noticed that. There was no, I'll toast some for you, Deb.
I think you're just doing a fabulous job, Steph. I don't think anyone would want to take that away from you.
No, they were surprising how they disappear when the sound of the live stream is discussed. Different when birthday cake is
Absolutely.
is presented.
Yeah. And it was Debbie's birthday
Oh yeah,
this
it was
week.
my birthday. Yeah, yes, it was. It was. I was very, very spoilt by the guys here. I have to say, very spoilt.
As we like to say, cake are probably the best medicine for us. So when birthdays comes around, it's probably the best time of year.
Yeah, we're very lucky here. We all stop for half an hour, and when it's somebody's birthday within the company, and we have cake, and we have prezzy, and we have it's a really good opportunity to catch up and chat, because we're so busy. Sometimes we'll come to work and you won't actually see some of your colleagues the whole day.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's really lovely to take that time and touch base with everybody and share a few jokes, mostly at my expense. Okay, so just filling in with some little bits of eucalyptus here. Now this eucalyptus is the cinerea variety, and we have actually got coming up some information on eucalyptus, haven't we, Laura?
Well, we put that on Facebook last week, on Monday.
Oh, already gone out?
Yep, already live. So
Wow.
I know. I'm eager these days. If you have missed that, it's on our Facebook page at the moment. So it's under types of eucalyptus, conditioning and alternatives. So head over there and you'll get lots of information on different types of eucalyptus and all you need to know, really.
And we were absolutely, well, I was absolutely bowled over. Mind you, that might say something about my personality, that I don't get out much. I was absolutely bowled over by the amount of products that have eucalyptus oil in them. Phenomenal.
Yeah, lots of things, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Even
absolutely.
your sweets that you've had.
Yeah.
The hard-boiled sweets.
Yeah.
Amazing. Well, they are like licorice, like they're strong.
Yeah, I've got a bit of a
You can
reputation.
smell them from a mile away, but
They have kept me breathing, so that's a good thing. Well, some might say.
we've got a question from Jane. She says, when I have used Oasis, I've I have cut away the hard edges to give me more surface to place things. I've noticed that you haven't here. Is it because it's not needed, or is it just personal preference?
I've never found it necessary to do it myself, but yeah, I would just say literally personal preference.
Do you do it in like a tribute?
In a tribute I would, yeah, that's ironic, isn't it?
Yeah.
If I'm doing a letter, I would actually cut the edges, the surface, oh sorry guys, I would actually round the edges of the oasis, the hard edges, so you've got more of a rounded profile, because I then find when you then go on to base it, you get a much more rounded finish. Something like this is not quite so necessary because you literally have got quite sharp edges to the arrangement almost. I've never done it on arrangements, but I could see that it's got flaws and it's got benefits in doing so. So yeah, personal choice
preference.
really. Yeah.
It's concluded.
Oh, our fridge fan has stopped. It's gone very quiet.
I love that when it turns like silent. It's so good.
It's actually quite eerie because we used to turn the fridges off at Christmas, didn't we? It's actually quite eerie to walk in there and it's dead silent and echoey.
Yeah.
Right, okay, so nearly there with our yolk.
So with the back of the arrangement, are you just greening it?
Yeah. Yeah, and I've intended for this arrangement to actually be a front-facing arrangement, so to go against a wall, and as I think it was Jane said, it would work perfectly in church. So it's not necessary really to do too much to the back, and to be honest, in church it's quite difficult sometimes to water arrangements, especially if they're up quite high. So by having, well, my tutor would have described it as having a bare bum. By having a bare back of the arrangement, it's a little bit easier to find a space to pop water into. So yeah, I probably wouldn't worry too much if I was doing something in church to finish the back off. I will finish the back off today simply because, well, I'm going to.
Because I want to.
Yeah, exactly. Now I'm just going to strip some leaves off here and cut, just to show you what I meant earlier about the shapes, by popping those in. Just literally bent one of the foliage stems to create that V.
We've got a question: how do you work out your colours when designing this parallel arrangement? Or how have you?
How have I worked my colours out? Okay, I will be really honest with you. I just ordered all of the spring flowers that I really loved and kept to blues and yellows really. There wasn't a huge amount of forethought gone into it to a certain extent. Having said that, blues and yellows are opposites in the colour wheel, so they do complement each other really, really well. I don't tend to do a huge amount of pink when I'm thinking spring. I tend to do much more blues and yellows and whites, so, but that's very much a personal thing really. I do put a bit more thought into design usually. I do normally try and coordinate colours, and
when there's a brief involved, you would.
Yeah,
yes.
I would. Yeah, but I sort of almost had free reign here today, so I've just picked the. Well, I absolutely love the python tulips. I love hyacinths, one of my favourites. So they had to feature really. So just to show you what I've done there quickly, I've just put some shapes in there just to give it a little bit of added interest, and then I'm just going to pop foliage into the back just to finish the arrangement off, which I'm guessing you guys probably don't need to watch really. So I'll probably do that once we've finished our live stream, but hopefully you've enjoyed. I'm going to peek between the flowers there.
Move to the side, Debbie. Move to the side.
I'm going to move this way. Hopefully you've enjoyed our spring arrangement this afternoon. It's been really fun to get back into it again. I have to say we've missed it from last week. So yeah, thank you for joining us. Have a fantastic weekend. and I hope you get some sunshine where you are. But thank you for joining us. Don't forget to hit that like button. Bye for now.